This is Mark Clauzel and you're watching Sport and Icons.
Pan round. So we're in Mark Clauzel's
Got no door on there, man.
cinema room.
I haven't got the door on, so it looks trampy, doesn't it? It looks like Cape Town, doesn't it?
In his cinema room, but really it's like a love nest for Steve and Mark.
Yep. This is where the magic happens.
So just studying as a current, it does.
This is where Buckman and Throbbins fill in.
Yeah.
Alright, so... Oh, that's not a big bed, by the way. It's actually a chair. Alright, so we're going to do a quick Q&A.
Yeah.
So this is from everybody that I posted up yesterday. In no particular... No, actually, we will go in order. We'll start at the top and work our way down. Right, so this is from Mark Griffin. In a sport that can be ruined by judges and politics preventing big fights. And how big are your nipples?
Depends if Mark's biting them or sucking on them. To answer the bottom question.
Yeah, so basically, I'll reword it. So, do judges ruin it for people? Or can they ruin it? Put like a bit of a black tar on the name of boxing. And are the politics preventing big fights?
Personally, I think definitely, and that's from the the bottom level of amateur to the top level of amateur to the bottom level of pros to the top level of pros, 100%. And as for the politics and money and people not wanting to, collab with each other and who's going to walk to the ring first, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. As a fighting man, it should just be like this is the crack, this is the venue it's happening at, this is what the purse is going to be, and that's the fight. But unfortunately, that doesn't happen. But as a fighter, I don't know the politics as much as Mark, who's a manager and who's done promotion. So I think that question will definitely be more so suited to Mark. So yeah.
The politics side of it, yeah. Absolutely, it affects the fight. I think having so many governing bodies now is a major factor. If it went back to just one major title, then you are the champion. That's the way it is. But having so many titles, and we'll see titles come and go over the years. Like the WBU years ago, that was a big one. I think Rick felt that he hadn't had that for years, didn't he? Mm-hmm. But outdoors, it wasn't never really recognised, and it never took off massively the way the other ones did. But then I think sort of having your mandatories and what have you, then different promoters don't want to pay this as cross television network issues. They want to promote, he's that champion, it just gets in the way a little bit, doesn't it? So it is what it is. When you look at Fury and Joshua with the wild card thrown in there with that. I mean, that fight was done and dusted, and then all of a sudden he puts it to arbitration, and boom, sparring the works, and he's got to fight Fury again. I don't think he deserves it. Personally, I don't think he should have fought him again, because he was given his 60 days to sign for the third fight, and that time lapsed. So why they've allowed it again, regardless of him saying, well, I was suspended from boxing, doesn't stop you signing a contract, does it, mate? Whatever the reasons were, I don't fully know what they were, but it's just a small example of the politics that get in the way of boxing and stop mega fights happening, and ones that the public are more interesting. There's a lot more public appeal in Fury and Joshua than there is in Fury and Wilder again, isn't there?
Of course, I don't have to pay a third pay-per-view to watch a fight I've already seen twice. That's my thoughts.
I ain't got that much interest in the third fight, to be honest with you.
No, I haven't.
They're saying Wilder's changing, he's this and he's that. Yeah, he's got that punch, hasn't he? Can knock anyone out, but I'm not overly interested in it again, to be honest with you. I just want to see Fury get in there and twat him and get on with the Joshua fight. I think everyone does, to be honest with you.
Yeah, that's probably the best way of looking at it. Alright, move on to another one. From Don't Ask Me. Start for you, Steve. Why didn't you take your dad's last name, Drago?
Because he abandoned us on my mother's doorstep. And he was delivering milk to my mum, and my mum didn't have the money to pay him, and paid in other ways, and he ran off to fight to fight Rocky and become a millionaire and do a lot of films, and he hasn't even contacted CSA or nothing to pay us the money he owes us. Never sent us a birthday card, a Christmas card. So I thought, why should I take his second name? You know, when I've had a father there who, you know, happily just was doing the windows, and again, my mum didn't have the money to pay for our windows. So yeah, so she met him when I was 4, and I got my name changed by Depaul to Robinson from Drago. I was born in Drago, funnily enough.
Yeah. Do you speak any Russian?
No, very little.
Yeah. Okay then, so from the same person, don't ask me, top 3 fight of the year contenders so far. We can just do one each if you like. What's your favourite this year so far?
There's been a pandemic.
Yeah. Mine is Cheeseman Eglinton.
Very good fight. Very, very good fight. I'm not even going to answer that.
The Jonas and
Taylor.
Yeah, the women.
that was
Harper.
That was a good fight.
Yeah.
That was a really good fight.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay then. So this will be a question for both of you then. How much is getting to the pinnacle of your division and career based on talent compared with who you know and luck? That's from Mighty Villain.
So the word, funnily enough, we've just done a whole thing about mental health and the word luck. Does luck play a part in boxing? Puncher's luck, possibly, but do you have to do the hard work months, years, weeks before that luck comes into place? Yeah. So I don't really like that word luck.
What about luck of, I don't know, say you know Mark knows X amount like Pacquiao, and
that's only going to get you.
Is that
far,
some kind of luck?
Because if you anybody can pull a couple of strings, and I've seen it over the years where, you know, someone's called in a favour, gets so and so on a show and what have you.
Yeah.
Because they're a friend of a big promoter, a Hearn or a Warren or whoever it may be, a Hobson, whatever, and they've got them on the show. But are they going to want them on that show again if they don't perform, if they don't sell tickets? If, you know, if they're not exciting, they're going to give them a chance of it. So I think that the sort of the connection side of it will only get you so far if you're not delivering the goods.
But even still, even that gets you so far, you've still got to work extremely hard, you know, and pull the training out of the bag. And, you know, I think hard work will always beat talent to the point of...
talent doesn't work hard, it will.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say.
To be fair, right, when you say luck is, he's in the gym training hard. You see 12 months down the line, right? He's in the gym, working his arse off, and there's a Commonwealth title or a British title fight, and one party gets injured. It's a vacant title, they're fighting for it. There's not a champion and a challenger. There's a vacant title, they're both fighting for it. He knows he's going to be in line for it against the winner or something like that. Whatever happens, phone goes, and one of them's injured. He's in the gym and he's fit. That's luck. Taking that fight at that time when you weren't meant to be having that fight, and the board approves it, you get in there and win it. That's luck, because luckily he got injured. Fortunate for us, not fortunate for them. But if you win, that's having luck on your side. But it's also at the same time, it's staying disciplined, staying in the gym and keeping yourself fit all the time, isn't it?
So basically, it's one thing to have the door open, it's another thing to keep the keys.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not that hard to call out the right people and get what I would say is a TV fight, or to try and get some money behind you to put you in a position to get a title fight. You've got to be ready to be at that level, though. If you're not ready to be at that level, all luck in the world's not going to do a damn thing, because you're just going to get knocked out.
I agree. Okay, from Ethan D.
Ethan,
big
Ethan.
Right, Steve. Who is the best fighter that you think you could beat right now? So you're currently 3-0.
So, but it depends. What are people? You know, I'd like to think that I could beat Nick Webb. No, Lucas Brown. People like
I could
them.
beat fucking Lucas Brown
You
right
know,
now.
but when they say best fighter, what are they talking in the, you know?
What context are you putting
In
on
what
it?
context? So are they talking about the best fighter in the top 30, or are they talking about the, you know, these up
Domestically,
and coming
internationally,
fighters?
world
Yeah,
level?
Oh, let's do like a world level. Okay, so let's look at someone who's had a few more fights than you. Say like a F.A. Jagba, for example, or a Daniel Dubois, or 3-0 David Adderley.
I mean, I put myself against all of them.
Yeah.
But that's just me being me, and that's just me, you know, being a fighter and happy to fight regardless. But
maybe Mark's better if I like answering that
But I
one.
think
then.
it's all about time, isn't it? In this sport as well. Again, like just how it falls levels to it, and if we're going to get Stevie in against these opponents who've had, you know, multiple British Commonwealth title fights, and he's had none, right, and he's not even had a 10 rounder or what have you, it's not really an even playing field, is it? Because he's not experienced that, so he's got to go through all that physical and mental sort of capacity, well, I would say mental challenges and hurdles when he's in the ring that they've been through, you know, the psychological side of it that they've actually been in and done. He won't have done that then, so it's not really an even playing field. So when you ask that question, you've got to look at it and go, okay, well when Stevie gets to say 12-0, 15-0, and he's up at that level, right, then it's an even playing field. Then that's probably the question I would come back to, but it's a hard question to ask right now, isn't it? And answer. You know what I mean? When he gets to that level though, then you would say, well, he's served his apprenticeship, he's at that level now. So when you say a top three, you say, well, yeah, he's kind of ready to go and get amongst that mix. It's then upon him to perform on the evening when he's fighting. Doesn't mean that they're better fighters than him. It just means that if something goes wrong, it's a heavyweight division, can get knocked out like that.
Yeah.
Kids can get knocked out like that in this division. So it's a good question, but it's a hard question to answer.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh, fair enough. Okay, one from Ben Adlam. So this would be one for
Hi,
both
Ben
of you.
Adlam.
Hello. If you could have a sparring session with any boxer who ever lived, who would it be and why? So that'd be for both of you.
I'm your daddy, get me money off him. Come back, Ivan. I think I would love to have come across somebody like Tyson just to see what his power was actually really like and how difficult he was to actually hit, and how him at his peak, when you see him in that ring, you know, when he was before he went away, when he was, you know, 19, 20, 21, 22, and he was the world champion before he went to prison. And you see the raw footage and the rare footage of him knocking sparring partners out for fun and not holding back. I would love to have seen what it was actually like and what his power was actually like and how hard, like I say, he was to actually hit. Could you go on the back foot against him? Could you push him back? Or was it, as he shows on the TV, and you know what you've seen on YouTube, was it just really that difficult? And I like to test myself, so I would have liked to have tested myself to the point of, was he as good as he looks on TV and in the sparring sessions on YouTube? And you know, I love watching a fighter called Tefalo Stevens, who never really made it in the pros, but was an unbelievable. With his Cuban, but did he not turn pro for a couple? He was an unbelievable amateur.
3 Olympic gold medals, wasn't it? 3 Olympic trophy, only 3 Olympic golds.
But his counter punching and his jab and everything about him was just.
That's what I tell you to watch, wasn't it? Yeah. I was like, watch him, it was unbelievable Cuban. I was like, watch where he just drops back and that right hand he just throws from just nowhere, bang, and that out. Unbelievable boxer.
But to answer that, I would say, as cliche as it sounds, Mike Tyson.
Mark, so you were super welter.
Well, yeah, or well, yeah, whatever. Hey, well,
Yeah.
I fought I sparred some of the biggest names in it when I was over in the States, and sparred some big names over here. For me, it was
That's present though, so you know you.
past. Do you know what? I would have loved to have sparred when I was over there.
What about Canelo?
Eh?
What about Canelo? How did you go on sparring with him when he was at, say, super welter and then middle?
How would I have got on sparring him?
Yeah, would you have liked to have sparred him?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, absolutely. You know,
Mayweather.
it didn't.
Oh, yeah,
Things like that. I think as a fighter, you want to. It's a reality check, isn't it? You know, it's.
Yeah.
Let's see. I remember when I went over to the States, I was like, okay, I want to spar with these guys because I want to see how good I am, and I wanted to see what the difference was between where I was at that time to where I wanted to be, which was my aspirations were to be a world champion. So I wanted to see how far off that I actually was. And you know, when you're looking at these guys who are 34 and 35 fights in and they've got 20 something knockouts or 30 odd knockouts on their record with these Puerto Ricans and Mexicans and that, I thought, how hard do these guys actually hit? And when I got in there, it was, you know, the first few spars I thought, look, they can crack, but you just know, you've just got to be smart about it, use your brain, and just know, let's just not take one of them first, because it's going to hurt. You know, and how they find the gaps, how they move, how they disguise shots. I loved it. Loved every second of it. And there's not really one particular fighter that I would put in mind, so I'd love to sort of fight him. I mean, one of my favourite fighters of all time is Oscar De La Hoya. Just for the way he fought, his speed, I would have loved to have sparred with him at the time. You know, but he wasn't in training, but I would have absolutely loved that. Just because I idolised him when I was young.
Well, he's living his best life now, isn't he? He really is. Okay, so either one of you can answer this one, I suppose. From Jar Glory. Ask if you should criticise novices' records after, say, 5 fights.
No,
Are you open for criticism?
Definitely not.
No, why? They're in the industry, they're learning.
Yeah.
Well,
Never criticise anybody's record.
I don't think, you know.
They were man enough to step into that ring regardless.
I was going to say, I respect any man or woman that gets, anybody who gets in that boxing ring, children, adults, you know, whatever. You get in that ring, you've got a big set of balls because it takes a hell of a lot. Not just the physical preparation, but mental.
I had them before I got in the ring though.
Honestly, I've seen kids, and there's stories of this up and down the country, where amateur kids have gone to do it and they've been there, they've weighed in, they've took off on the night, and they've just left the show, they've left the venue because they've been too nervous and too scared to fight. And if you've never actually been in that situation, you can't understand what it takes to do it and what you've got to go through it. And there's a lot of, don't bottle it, don't do this or that. Mind games that boxing can play with you. If you allow it to, it's another level.
It's a lonely sport, like we said earlier, and I would never ever criticise anybody's record, ever.
Joshua said something similar.
You can have 20 fights and lose 20 fights.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're not going to achieve anything. You're learning.
Yeah.
You know, you could have 20 bad decisions, and so what? You've still got in the ring 20 times, you still haven't quit. So in my eyes, you're a champion already because you haven't quit after those 20 losses. So continue going.
Like Johnny Nelson. Like Johnny Nelson, he lost like his first half a dozen fights and that, didn't
he? Lost a load of pro fights. Look what he did, he still won.
Yeah, exactly. World champion.
It doesn't mean you're a bad fighter and you should never criticise. I think you should be applauding them and encouraging them to continue going. Try and figure out what's going wrong. Is it something in training camp? You know, we don't want to take it on too long, but look at why and how they're losing and see what adaptations and changes you can make to help that person.
Joshua said something a little while ago. He says that each time he's about to do the ring walk, as soon as he steps out there, he has a moment of, what would happen if I just turn around and go home and say, I don't want to do this?
Yeah.
So it can happen to the best of them, can't it?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
All right, this is from Steve Cully. What is the biggest obstacle you've had to overcome so far to be the successes?
I think my biggest obstacle is my mind, my age, my own self-belief, my own self-doubt, not having the money to be able to go on holidays, the amount of commitment I've had to put in to be where I'm at. But like, you know, was said earlier, the short-term sacrifices and commitments are definitely going to be worth it in the long term. And all that self-doubt, having the right people around you, like Mark, to say, listen, trust us, you know, I've got belief in you, believe in yourself.
Was that the same when you used to play football?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you know, if the beauty of football is you made a mistake, you had 10 players to help you. You had 90 minutes to bring that back. Well, not necessarily, unless you made a mistake in the 91st minute. But you know what I mean. You know, time and 10 other players are there to help you, and there's a lot. You know, you make a mistake, and it's not as critical as it is in boxing. So there's not as much critiquing going on in your head. It's still, you know, I'd lose a game and you'd see people in the pub, and I used to be so pissed off at them sitting laughing and think, we've just lost, how can you be sitting smiling and laughing and enjoying yourself? Yeah. And I'd go home and I'd feel like shit for 2-3 days and think, why have we lost? Why did I let that go in? Why? And it's the same as with boxing. So having the correct people behind you is very, very important, and pushing you forward and spurring you on and making you believe in yourself. So to answer that, I definitely think it's my own mind as being my biggest obstacle.
And Mark, so you've been through, well, you've got your own businesses with your gym. You've been a boxer, professional boxer, a professional kickboxer, and
I think I'm just talking for Stevie's in terms of his career here, because the questions are him. I think one of our biggest obstacles is we are from the northeast, and for some reason we just don't get the recognition. Maybe that'll change, maybe it won't. And B, we don't have a big promotion team behind us. We've got obviously Black Flash Promotions now, but we didn't have before that. So I think that was quite hard. And why you sort of this question, well, why, when you see these guys getting signed up who've not achieved where he has an amateur, see they're getting signed up by, was we used to say, didn't we? Yeah. How they got, you know, why are they getting a contract, and you pick the phone up and speak to them and they know you. They go, oh no, not right now. And again, this is where luck comes into it, and who you know and what have you, because they do a favour for that person or whatever. And I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to go and kiss someone's horse now just to try and get them a contract. I'm like, we'll just do it.
These will do the talk.
Yeah, and do you know what? The thing is though, when he's won and they haven't had to invest into him, we can get more money anyway. So we might have to take some crap paydays for a little bit, but believe me, now it'll pay dividends in the long run.
Okay, from Nathan C. Do you feel the influence of YouTubers, TikTokers, etc. is having a negative impact on the sport, or positive, and why? Seems to be mixed feelings about this.
I think again, listen, YouTuber, TikToker, Instagrammer, influencer, whoever you are, you've still got to put in that time, that effort, that hard work to train, to get into that ring. Look at tonight's fight. You know, the kid is managed to get a fight with the best boxer probably in my time I've ever seen. Defensively, you know, phenomenal. And he's getting that off the back of just making his mouth go, like Mark said in an earlier question. You know, you can call people out, you can get the fights that you want and the payday, but is it right? You know, at the time, is the time right? But for these YouTubers and TikTokers and what have you, they're just doing it for a payday, and you know, they're still putting in the graft, they're still putting in the hard work. But for me, I don't really pay enough attention to care about them. I'm focusing on the.
Does it hurt the sport, do you think?
I wouldn't say so.
No, I don't think it does at all. You can look at it from two ways. So Mayweather's retired from prize fighting in terms of competitive boxing, so he's not going to go and fight anyone in the top rankings, WBC, WBA, whatever it may be. But as he made in what he said the other day in one of his own interviews, I'm not retired from making money. I'm not retired from exhibition bouts. He's fighting an 8-round fighting. He said he's getting $100 million. I mean, who in their right mind wouldn't? And when you've been at the pinnacle of the sport for so many years, like Mayweather has, against Logan Paul. I'm not being funny. People are going, oh, he's big, and you've got the thing is, you've got all these guys on YouTube watching it and going, oh, you know, he doesn't stand any chance. He doesn't stand a puncher's chance. He doesn't stand a single chance. I don't care what anyone says. He really doesn't.
Dave Allen says, I was reading something before. Dave Allen says he's got as much chance as an under 12s team beating Man City over 2 legs in the Champions League semi-final.
He doesn't, because there's levels to the sport. And I think if Mayweather really wanted to, regardless of them going out as 25 or 30 pound difference, and so what? Like, Mayweather will destroy him at any time, at any point. I guarantee he won't cut the ring. He'll just follow him around the ring and just flick shots out, and you'll take risks and you'll just bash him up for 8 rounds, pick up his money, go home, and everyone who's paid for it will be sitting there laughing, counting that money. And fair play to him, take me out of him. Has it damaged the sport in the fact that he doesn't deserve that fight? Yeah. You know, when there's a lot more people, but Mayweather's not a competitive fighter anymore. Logan Paul's a YouTuber. You know, him and his brother are just YouTubers. And if they can make a load of money for Bible, listen, that's what a lot of people want to do, is want to make money, don't they? So, fair play to them. They've used their YouTube status to put themselves in a position where, with all the millions of fans that are watching that, subscribing, who admire them, adore them, on everything they do, they're paying loads of money for them to fight, so fair play. They're cashing in on their fame and their success. And I wouldn't say it helps the sport, because at the end of the day, it's bringing people who probably wouldn't have watched it, sort of cross-network, to come over and watch the sport, isn't it? So in my view, maybe these people may never have watched it before, because of the Logan Paul Mayweather fight, they become fans all of a sudden. So I can't really see how it's doing harm to the sport in that respect. You know, I mean, Mayweather stands to lose everything if he loses that fight, doesn't he? But listen, that's never going to happen. I can't see in any world how that's going to happen, in any reality, how he would lose that fight. No matter how many times they fight.
Unless he takes a dive. Get a rematch, get more money. Smart business.
But he just fight his brother and then chin his brother.
Well, yeah.
Maybe even more.
Yeah, I think Jay's got more of a chance of actually catching Mayweather and chinning him than what Logan has.
Yeah.
He's a fighter
though. Logan Paul, but he's nowhere near his level.
Okay then, right, from Perry Chamberlain. I suppose Mark will probably be better for answering this one. How far do you think Steve can go?
Honestly, opinion, I think Steve can go all the way. But he has to be directed and guided in the right way. You know, so as long as he wins what he's supposed to win, and a loss isn't the end of the world at any point of anyone's career in boxing. I think Mayweather's made it that you can't lose or you finished, and everybody was all about protecting their own. You know what I mean? It's not the end of the world. It's a learning curve. You know, I think Steve generally can go all the way. Timing and the right fights and the right education at the right time are imperative for his guidance and for his career. And that's why I say to him, listen, don't be calling these people out, because they might call back, and if this fight comes and we're not ready for it, or we're not at the right point of our camp, it's not us. I've got to hold them out, because I know him. He'll fight anybody. I say, listen, this fight's gone. He'll say, yeah, I'll take it, no problem at all. It'll be called. I'm like, I don't really want you to do that just yet. Let's just get a little bit more under our belt and get us in a position where we're ready to start doing that. Then, listen, call out who the hell you want. I don't really care. Then I'll be like, listen, call him out. Let's get that fight. Keep calling them out, because then we'll make those sort of fights happen, and they will happen off the back of that. Right now, it's a learning curve. He's got to, and he knows this. We'll discuss this. He's got to find his feet in the sport. He's got to do these 6-rounders, these 8-rounders, and maybe 1 or 2 10-rounders, and then fight for titles. Get into. I mean, he made his debut on the MTK show, 3,500-4,000 people. So I'm not worried about him performing in an arena in front of people or in front of cameras, because he made his debut like that. So he's been there and done it. But yeah, I generally think he can go all the way. But it's about timing the right opponents at the right time and the right guidance as well.
Cool. And the Perry finishes off with he's rooting for you. So.
Thanks, Perry.
Okay. There you go. This kind of follows on quite nicely, really. This is from Harley. Get Stephen to call out some YouTubers and get his name promoted. Worked well for Tommy Fury.
Yeah, mate.
Well, YouTubers are heavyweight.
I was going to say.
Hello.
Is there any heavyweight YouTubers out there? If there is, hit us up. If not,
I'm just about heavyweight, but we wouldn't raise enough money to have a barn dance.
I'll just stand and cuddle you for 3 hours. I'd rather just sit and play Fortnite with him anyway.
Fair enough. Okay, from CM. Right, shag, marry, kill, AJ Fury Wilder.
It depends if I'm taken. Because if I'm taken, I think...
I can't even answer that question, man.
I think... Who was the question? Who was it?
CM asked it. AJ Fury or Wilder?
I think Fury will have the smallest cock out of the three, so I'll shag him if I'm taken. I'll marry Joshua because he's got shitloads of money and a plane and that, so he can just take us to the Maldives and we can just spoon. And kill Wilder because he's a prick.
You agree with that, Mark?
No, mate, I'll pass.
He just doesn't want to cheat on me. He's being loyal to me.
Ask me misses and kids.
Okay, it's from Chaz Princeton. When can we expect to see you fight for a British title? Ideally.
24th of July, I'd fight. It's Joyce. That's up to him and Pat Barrett.
It's up to Boris Johnson not to put a bloody back into lockdown and allow things to actually go ahead. Listen, it's all down to that's all down to how much progression we can make given the circumstances that we're in with the lockdowns, you know, and obviously they're saying they're not sure whether or not they're going to allow full lockdown.
Permitting that.
Permitting that. I would have thought within 18 months Steve would be in a position to...
Bollocks. I want to earlier than that.
No,
12 months.
Progression, right, provided we can get the right fights and we can keep active.
July next year.
Progression's good. And obviously...
Babbitt's is looking for an opponent. 20
on next weekend.
On Saturday. Get a British title interim.
Now, listen, we've just got to have the right opponents at the right time. Hope lockdown doesn't keep in there and then give us 12 to 18 months to get where we need to be, to get the right experience. And then let's revisit it then, you know what I mean? Okay, it's hard to say, it's hard to put a timeline on it.
Well, this follows on from Danny Green. He says, very, very similar. What kind of timeline are you looking to go through to the European and world level? I suppose it's a similar kind of answer, really, isn't it?
It's down to progression and opponents, really, you know. Obviously, we've got to take into account that we don't have... Steve's not 20, you know, he's just gone 30, so we don't have crazy team, but he's still a baby in terms of heavyweight.
You've got no miles on the clock, have you?
Yeah, so. And you know, he's not. Yeah, he hasn't had those grueling fights. Not a bad thing. He's had the spars. Believe me, I've seen them. But yeah, you know,
been glassed a few times, bottled a few times.
2.5 years. Again, it depends on progression. Fights, how many fights we can have in progression. You know, it could be 18 months, 2 years, 2.5 years, 3 years. It depends on what opponents we can get, how fast we can fight, how many times we can be out, and how active we keep. You could break his hand in a fight, you could get a nasty cut. So providing that we're injury free and we stay injury free and we stay active, it could happen as soon as 18 months, 24 months, if he's performed right and he's fought the right opponents.
Spot on. Right, from Truth Sun, asked Mark what are the major differences with Pacquiao's mindset and training to the generalised British mindset and training. Because obviously you'll spend time with Pacquiao over there in Wildcard.
I don't really understand the question. So I understand what he's asking, but what does he mean about the British mindset? Is it supposed to be different?
Maybe, because it does seem that Pacquiao, I suppose because he's...
Well, I suppose we can take he's from the Philippines, where it's underprivileged. So I'll answer from what I understand of the questions. The British mindset is, obviously, we're a first world country, he's from what we class as virtually a third world country. So I'm looking at it from that perspective. So his hunger and determination would have been get himself out of poverty. You know, we don't necessarily have that here. We do, but we don't, not as poverty stricken as what they would have had, and Pacquiao would have had over there. He was virtually homeless. Well, he was homeless, wasn't he?
Did you see that as that improves him training? Because obviously, when you seen him, you was with him
champion, wasn't he?
When he was in the prime of his career, really.
Yeah. Oh, so, I mean, listen, he was amazing, but there was.
Was he a workhorse then? He would work hard in the gym.
Oh yeah, I mean, he came in and he gave it 110%, but everybody over in that gym had that mindset, didn't they?
Oh, okay.
It was a gym full of champions, so anybody that came in, whether you were at the start of your career or the end of the career, everybody that saw come through the door of that gym, it was just amazing to be around, you know, because everybody had that mindset that they were either a champion on the verge of, you know, fighting for a title, or they were sort of coming up the ranks, starting a career, and just wanted to be a champion. They wanted to be great. There was no journey, not at all in that gym, and you had just champion after champion after champion training through there, and top prospect training through there. So the mindset of Pacquiao was kind of, as the rest of them were in there, they were in there and they came in, they're just very humble people, worked really hard, were really friendly when I was there to me, just worked really, really hard. But I see the same thing over here though as well though, do you know what I mean? So when you say the British mindset, you know, I see fighters in the gyms up and down the UK, and their mindset's the same. You know, the sparring with Joshua, his mindset's that way. Sparring with Fury, his mindset was that way. Nathan Gorman's mindset's that way. Do you know what I mean? His mindset's that way. So I don't mean to sort of put off the question. It is a good question to try and understand what I suppose maybe swing is, was there a difference in the mentality of a world champion's mindset at a multiple weight to someone who wasn't? I don't know, maybe.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, this is from Callum Gordon. Thoughts of Pacquiao fighting Spence, and do you think he can pull it off against Spence?
I think that's going to be a mid fight. I don't think so. That's going to be an awesome fight.
Mm.
I don't know. I think that's going to be an awesome fight, to be honest with you. When I saw it announced, I thought that's going to be an absolutely amazing fight.
Mm.
Got to look at what trouble Pacquiao is going to cause him with his speed, his movement, his mobility, you know. But obviously, he's had a few losses, hasn't he, recently? So, and Spence is in the prime of his career. I think that's an unbelievable fight, though. I really do.
Mm. Do you think that with Pacquiao, I mean, what's he, a 7 or 8 weight world champion?
8 weight world champion, isn't he?
Do you think that he ever juiced at any point? Mm.
Yeah.
I suppose if he's doing,
I think
there's a lot of them say everyone up there does it, don't they? But I mean, listen, I don't know. I ain't got a clue. There's not that much. There's
watch
not.
Icarus on Netflix.
Yeah.
Insane.
Yeah, that was an interesting program. I watched that, wasn't it? The thing is, when you're in the lower weights, there's
like 2, 3, 4 pound differences between each one.
In the weight there. It's when you kind of start going from a featherweight and you're going all the way up to sort of light middleweight, and then middleweight, and then a Canelo up to light heavyweight, and you think, okay. And there's certain telling factors in, you know, the traps on the back and that say certain things, and then you fail and you still said, oh, it was in cow's meat or whatever the hell it was, in a horse meat, you know. You kind of think, okay, well, letting them get away with that, then, you know, whatever.
And Errol Spence's nipples, they definitely show something in my opinion. Okay. I don't need to ask that one. Faz Majarkal, apologies if I butchered that. Any plans for the Northern Area Champion belt?
Who's to the fight?
First and foremost, mate, would love to, and thanks for the question, but we need another heavyweight to fight. And at present, there are no other heavyweights within the Northern Area that you can fight. So to answer your question, it won't happen.
Come back, Glenn McCory. You can get heavyweight fighting. Okay, Kai Johnson. What advice would you give for okay, this would be a real good one for you actually, Mark. What advice can you give for handling bullies and toxic masculinity in an amateur boxing gym? So for someone's getting bullied.
If there's an amateur boxing gym and the coaches are actually allowing that to happen,
yeah,
that amateur boxing gym should be potentially like, well, first and foremost, you're supposed to have safeguarding officers in every club, because I run the amateur club as well, and that's something that won't ever happen in our club. So that club safeguarding officers should be made aware of that, and they should be dealing with whoever is causing that issue. And to be fair, if it would happen in mine, they'd be kicked straight out.
Could be happening outside as well, though, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could be. It was happening outside. You know, there's ways and means of dealing with that, but it shouldn't be happening inside the club at all.
But if he is suffering, and you know he is asking that question because it's happening to him, whether that be at a school, whether that be in the local gym, you know, speak to somebody.
Was the question saying that it was happening inside the boxing gym?
Yeah, in amateur boxing gyms. So yeah.
But if you're asking that, listen, mate, if you're asking that question because it's happening to you, then please talk to somebody. Talk to your mum, talk to your dad, talk to your brother, talk to your pals, talk to whoever. Don't be embarrassed to talk about it, and you know, get nip it in the bud now before it goes too far, because you know it's easy to say, well, retaliate to them, hit them back, do this, do that, but it's not always the right answer. So you know, don't keep it in, don't bottle it in, don't let it go too far, and speak to somebody about it and get it nipped in the bud before it does go too far.
It could actually be happening from the coach as well, though, because I've seen some clips of coaches pretty much bullying their fighters.
But look what happened in
They stand there like that and they're literally hooking them in the face.
Yeah, we've seen that in Azerbaijan and stuff, on social media. But that happens in a lot of sports. I mean, you just have to look at what happened within the ballet. You know, was it ballet? No, not ballet. Gymnastics. You know, that was going on all over the world, and you know, at the top level, the coaches, you know, want to get these, and there's programs about it, and unfortunately, it does happen. But
if it is happening and it is in your club, if it's a coach, report them. Shouldn't be doing it. Simple as that. I hate to say that. People go, oh, grass, just they shouldn't be doing it. Full stop. It needs to be looked at now. If it's kids in the club, tell your coaches. They should be able to sort it out. And if not, ring England Boxing and just find out where there's another club local to you and just leave and go to that club. Because, you know, it's not worth you staying somewhere for something you love doing, if it's boxing that you love doing, to be going there what should be your sort of escape, your happy place, something you're loving to do and something you're passionate about. You shouldn't be going there to get bullied, you know. So I would just say look for another club if they're not sorting out that issue, mate.
And if it is happening, everyone, tell them, drop us a line on Instagram, drop us a line on, you know, your YouTube channel, and you know, he's more than welcome to speak to us and ask us a question, reach out to us, and I'll speak to him on a personal level. Yeah,
listen, if you need some information for other clubs and what have you, send. If you put a message on the way you have done there, mate, then I can provide Martin some information. He can reply to you if you tell him where you live, sort of thing, about different clubs in your area and what have you, mate. If you're not happy where you are, just try and help you out.
Spot on. And from the same person, Kai Johnson, how would you explain the boxing industry today? To succeed in the game, is it actually about how well you fight as compared to how well you sell tickets and look on camera?
Some fighters could never sell tickets, and you would have to go to classes away corner and build up.
And look on the wards.
Yeah.
Unbelievable fighter.
Yeah. Can't sell tickets. If you're good talent and you're good at what you do, you'll be successful. I've always said this, you know, the only person that can beat you on the night of a fight is the kid across the ring from you. You know, all the judges rob you to bits, but in general, you know, the only person that can beat you is that person standing inside the ring. So if you're good at what you do and you're a talented fighter, you'll go on and you'll be successful anyway, whether you can sell tickets or not. You know, if you like it on TV, you'll just make that a little bit easier as well.
Okay, from Yorkie Elliott, what do you value more, the speed or power?
Speed equals power.
I was just going to say that speed gives power.
Yeah, so...
I also said that about Wilder. He keeps saying how he's powerful. He ain't powerful, he's just fast.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, he's like, you know, you hold a whip at the end and whip somebody, it's going to hurt a little bit. Start lowering your hand, start whipping somebody, get to the bottom of a whip and whip it, and you see the actual speed of it and what's going to hurt more, when you're holding the top of it and you're just, you know, hitting it at the same speed, or when you hold the bottom and you get the full whip and you get that full, you know, elasticity of the whip, and it's the same as with your hands. You know, you're standing and highing your power into every shot, and you're tensing up, and you're tensing. Then you relax and you let your hands just go and high them with speed. That, you know, it's physics. It's science. It's not just opinion. It's actual physics.
David Hay proved that, didn't he, when he moved to heavyweight?
The point for that is timing as well.
Yeah.
Timing's critical to speed and power, to be fair. So, and I always think if you've got good timing, you can beat speed anyway.
Okay, from Sambo El Gapoop. I apologise. Ask, would you ever box at the Stadium of Light
Of course I will.
for the right money?
I'm sure so.
No, we're going to, weren't
I'll box at the Stadium of Light.
we? Rang Phil Jeffries and said, are you doing your Stadium Light show this year? He said if restrictions lift, you would, and I said, do you want to put the big
I'm
light?
wearing a Newcastle shirt. And I'd come out a local hero, and you know, but I'd box at the Stadium of Light, no problem.
Yeah. I boxed there. I boxed there.
You know, at least someone will be putting on a show at the
Yeah,
Stadium of Light.
Oh, okay.
At least, you know, at least the crowd will have something to watch, and there's a good show on at the Stadium of Light, because it's not something they're used to having.
Okay, from Mikhail Slater, who's the hardest puncher you faced so far?
Me when I dropped my body shot.
My dad in 1998 when I took his last revel. It's funny because a lot of people ask this question, and touch wood, I've never been on my arse, and I've got to say Hughie Fury, because he's the only person that's had a stunt. But when it comes to actually density and dense power, and Robert Ismay caught us with an uppercut and a left hook, and then I think he caught us with another uppercut, and I had just started sort of coming up the levels at amateur, and I hated in close fighting. And this dickhead said, right, well, what we're going to do is we're going to get somebody who's unbelievable at close fighting, put an elastic band around you so you can't go anywhere, and you're going to get used to that. And I think I took about 18 uppercuts, a bit like the last Cash Ali fight. I think I took about 18 uppercuts and about 14 left hooks before I even heard anything back. And I think for about 4 days I was just drinking through a straw. But it's hard to answer because I've got quite a unique jaw, where I'm quite fortunate that I've got an alright jaw on us, and I haven't really had anyone where I thought, wow. Like I say, Huey stunned us, but it was sort of more so around the back of the head anyway. And then Izzy caught us with 18 left hooks because I didn't want to be in that predicament. So to answer that, I don't know. I can't really answer.
But Piccoli, he's a pretty big puncher, isn't he?
No, yeah, but it's no different to the likes of Dave Allen and stuff. I've been caught with shots. I'd say I ride shots quite well, don't I? Like, it might look like I've been caught, but I'm sort of slipping off my shoulder. But I don't know. Maybe ask us in 4 years' time when I'm but it'd have been
I just sit there and go. Don't take too many of them. I can't actually see if they hurt. I just like cringe at something. I cringe when you hit them. Sometimes I'm like, oh, that would have hurt.
Can't really answer that.
You're sparred like a lot of people, Mark. Who's hit you the hardest, you reckon?
From me, I've got no brain cells left. I've been battered.
Well, you did kickboxing, so you'd have been kicked in the head and all sorts.
That's what I'm saying. I didn't really feel it when I boxed. I got kicked in the head that many times anyway, so I was numb with by that time.
Fair enough. Okay, right. Well, this one pops up a lot, so let's explain this one. This is from James Jermaine, and a few more people asked this as well, so we'll skip through them. Why is your name USSR? Ivan Drago similarities, I imagine, but that may not be the answer.
It started back when I first started boxing. Even just walking around. even walking around like town, this is a story all about how my USSR come around, and I'd like to come in to just sit right there. Even just like growing up, I always got, you look dead like Ivan Drago, you look dead like, I used to always get him and Freddie Flintoff. And Gary Barlow.
We've got Scotty T, haven't I?
Aye, Scotty T.
Scotty T.
I used to get it, and I joined the gym as Hightower, but by that time I looked like I had 8 Ivan Drago. I joined a little fat thing. So, and then it just sort of, everywhere we went, it would be, oh, there's Ivan Drago, oh, there's Ivan Drago, oh, there's Dolph Lundgren, oh, there's Dolph Lundgren, there's Ivan Drago. And I'd get like Secret Santas, I'd get Ivan Drago towel, Ivan Drago shirts, Ivan Drago figures, and you know, it's just been going for around about 10 years, and it just, we're turning pro, and on your pro license, it's, I think one of the questions is, what's your boxing ally name?
It's boxing name and private name, isn't it?
Aye.
Professional name.
And Mark just went USSR Robinson. And as I say, that's been going for...
It took some convincing though to have to say yes, but right, sorry for putting in there. But what happened was, we were travelling quite a lot, because there's no heavyweights up here, even amateur, there's hardly any heavyweights up here. So we'd have more contests down sort of the Midlands, Manchester, Liverpool, Birmingham, Nottingham, and then down to London. And every time we'd travel down, and there was a couple of times like, I will just get the train instead of driving because traffic was a nightmare, whatever. We'd just get off and go, oh look, it's him from Rocky. So I was like, this is, and he didn't want to, he was against it at first, like, this is the gimmick we should go with. We should definitely go with the Drago gimmick. He's like, well, I was like, well, you're 6'7", you're blonde, just like him. You're of Polish, is it Polish? No, German, sorry. I was like, whatever. Anyway, somewhere over that way. And I was like, we should just go with this gimmick because it's easy to remember, right? Everybody knows it's an iconic sort of, you know, it's an iconic thing, is it, the movie? So I think everybody remembers it, and I went, and they're going to remember. They're not going to remember whenever they go, oh, what's that big kid from the northeast called? And they go, everyone will go, oh, it looks like Ivan Drago. So I was like, USSR, we'll just call it this. We'll not call it Drago, we'll just go with USSR.
I would have preferred Gary Barlow.
So none of the, anyways, I convinced them, I was like, honestly, go with it. And we kind of just went with that gimmick. And it just sort of snowballed from that. And then it was kind of go with that. Then we start with the red and sort of yellow, red and gold shorts. And it just snowballed from that. Then everybody just kind of knew him, and they'll ring, oh, you've got the ring for a match, and go, oh, you've got that Drago lad. You know, for an amateur show, and go, oh yeah, that's Stephen Robinson, yeah. Oh yeah, is he available? I was like, yeah, we'll be down. So then that's kind of how that happened, off the bat, that one. But it was a good thing though, because now everybody...
No, it doesn't, it's not a bad look alike.
No.
It's not. Like,
it's not, is it?
Yeah.
It's no Prince William. You know what I mean?
No, but
I've had that one.
It's good.
It look like Prince William.
It's good that gimmick to get sort of known by, don't mean people can associate it with it.
I don't mind looking like him.
But,
yeah. Fair enough. Right, we've got a few through, so I think maybe we should do these like quick fire ones. Okay, from Souls FTW, how did you get into boxing, and who is your boxing icon?
Got into boxing, basically. I was sick of headbutting the tops of doors and lampshades, and I thought, yeah, I need to do something. Yeah, I've never been knocked out yet. I got into boxing off the back of an injury in football. Joined Mark's gym, just a little fat kid wanting to get fit. Enjoyed it.
Being a fat kid as well.
Are you really?
Enjoyed it, and
so right in face.
You know what it is. I enjoy this. And 8 months later, I was having my first fight, and so that's the reason why I got into boxing, really, and never looked back, and just focused a lot of time and dedication into the sport. But I've just always been highly committed into sport with the football, and always, you know, being motivated to do well in sport. And as I say, I went to lose weight and just got that love and got that addiction for the sport.
Did you put on weight because of the football?
I zoom in on that.
Yeah. That was when he had his injury, right?
Can you see that one there? So that's him after his injury there, at about 140 kilos roughly.
36 was the heaviest I got up there.
Oh yeah.
On the left, and then That was his transformation from the boxing. Training every day.
You weren't half that though, were you?
I was 136 kilo.
Were you really?
He wouldn't have given us a fucking biggie back.
Bloody hell.
At my first fight, I was 136 kilo.
He said he just wanted to come in and just get fit, just to box to get fit.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Right, this is from the Black Knight. Have either of you ever been approached by someone to take a dive in a fight?
No.
No?
No.
never would either.
Okay. Okay, I know we kind of covered this one. You're currently 3-0, and it seems like you've been 3-0 for forever.
Unfortunately, mate, I don't know where you're living, but there's been a worldwide pandemic, so hopefully I'm glad you get Wi-Fi up on Mars. But unfortunately, down here on Earth, there's been something called the coronavirus that's kept us from the 1st of March up until today's date, from fighting.
How long boxed for now? How long has it been? 15 months, 16 months since you were last in the ring?
Well, quick fire, Mark. Come on. Get with the programme.
No, I'm saying what's it been? 16 months from now? Yeah. There you go.
That's it. Okay, here we go. This is from Usual Suspect. Who and when are you fighting next?
24th of July, probably some Croatian bin man since I haven't been in the ring for so long. So yeah, some Croatian bin man on the 24th of July.
Okay,
My
from
Czechoslovakian milkman.
it's Czech Republic now. We have to
Sorry,
be
my bad, sorry.
politically correct. Okay, from Scarsy High and I. Okay, I guess you're trying to put on a Geordie accent. Who does you feel about Griggs?
Greg's, I don't really like pasties, they give us heartburn.
Oh, I love pasties and sausage roll.
I'm not a pasty. I love Mark sausage roll, but when it comes to eating pasties, nah, not for me. Do you like Greg's?
Not really.
Oh no, I like the pasty. I like the sausage and the bean melt. That's a good
I
one.
like an ice split, but it gets you into trouble.
Okay, from John Eddy. Who is the best heavyweight in the world?
Fury. Just
Fury.
short and sweet.
You agree with that, Mark?
Fury, Joshua. Depends who performs best that night, doesn't it?
Okay, I found this on the web for Fury Josh.
Cheers, Siri. He's dropping.
Oh my God, how did that happen? Okay, from David B. If you could fight a top 10 heavyweight right now, who would you like to fight?
Joshua.
Joshua?
Fury, one of them two, of course. Build a legacy, get a name, showcase.
Get a
Nice.
few million quid away, alright?
Yeah. Buy a helicopter.
Okay, I haven't seen this one before. Actually, proofread all these before. From Super Sprinter 156. Do you like plain sausage or battered sausage from the chippy?
I don't really like sausage, but I'd say battered. I don't really like sausage. Battered, because I like batter.
Yeah. It's that's a strange thing because when I moved back up here to the northeast, if I go into a chip shop, there's always people who order, I don't know, chips or whatever. They say, could put a bit of batter on
Bit of
that.
batter.
I've never heard this before.
Yeah, well, batter everything.
Down south, bin it.
There's a chip shop. There's a chip shop close by, and they batter anything you want. They'll batter your chip butty if you want it.
Really?
If you want a batter chip butty, yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I like batter.
Yeah. Okay, what's it for both of you? From TNT Hassel. How many years have you done boxing?
6.
Me? Oh, 20, 22 or something.
22 years boxing? Bloody hell. Okay, from Adam Cram. Okay. What does Sporting Icons look like and what is his name?
So his name's Martin, spelled with a Y. He's sort code 772012. His account number's 2. And his mother's maiden name's McIntyre. And he looks like a little bit like, do you know Jeff
Sloth.
Dunham from Transformers? Tall, dark, and handsome. He's also
Oh,
in
yeah,
Safe
yeah.
Haven. He looks a bit like Charlie Dunham, I'd say.
I also like Brad Pitt. I don't know.
Yeah, but you've
I
got.
can see the similarities, like.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd say Charlie Dunham, just tall, dark, handsome, It's something you'd see from like.
There's a man of mystery behind the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, can't answer.
Heard and not seen.
Bit like Banksy.
Okay, from Jimmy Mac. How big is your Corey, Stephen?
Well, I would get it out, but Mark will moan on. I think probably go in the kitchen, get a pint glass, take a tape measure, measure the bottom of a pint glass, because with party trick I can get it at the bottom of a pint glass. That'll answer your question. Not just look at your Sky remote and it's the same size as the Sky remote. Took many pictures.
Have you been touching Mark's Sky remote? Have you?
Sorry?
Has he been touching your Sky remote?
No, Mark's got Sky Q, it's small.
Ah, okay.
I'm talking about the original Sky remote.
The old 1980s.
Okay.
So it's the same size as a pint glass, mate.
Nice. Okay, from Freddie. Did Steve Cunningham have anything to do with the USSR nickname? I don't
He was
understand.
USS Cunningham. USS, wasn't he?
Was he?
Yeah.
I didn't know.
It wasn't USSR, it was USS Cunningham.
I can't answer that question.
Oh, okay.
I've got a clue what he's on about.
Okay. There we go. Right, we've got a couple of questions left now from Matt Ball. Which heavyweight ranking do you agree with? Do you look at the rankings at the minute?
Don't look at it. Sorry, Matt Ball.
Which ranking, mate? WBC,
No, he's
WBA.
asking which
That's what I'm
one.
saying.
Which one?
Which one do you agree with? I don't look at them.
You can't agree or disagree. It all depends on which division you're fighting. So if you're ranked by the IBF and you're solely fighting towards an IBF title, you want to be fighting IBF ranked, higher ranked fighters. So that person might be ranked high in IBF but low in WBA or what have you.
That happens a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, but you're going to rank differently in different organisations. But then I suppose the goal is to try and be in top 10 of all of them, isn't it? If you're going to. You can't really agree with any of the ranking. You can't agree or disagree with any one specific. It depends on.
I'm number one in my household.
Me too. I do think that the WBA are the worst for the heavyweight rankings. They've got people like Bermain Stavern in the top 15 and Chris Arreola. That's
Dillian
bollocks.
White, isn't he?
Huh?
Is Chris Arreola and Dillian White signed?
Nah.
No. I thought they were signed.
I think that Dillian just wants to do that just so he can actually knock out Chris Arreola to say to Andy Ruiz Jr., well, at least I knocked him out.
Yeah.
So he really wants to do it. Okay, from MC Boswell, do you like dags? What's dags?
Oh, it's not snatch and take days.
Bags. It's an Irish way to say
Thing from
dogs.
Snapchat, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, like, I'm not Irish and I'm not a traveller, so I don't know why that question. But yeah, I love dogs. Do you want me to come and tarmac your lawn? Yeah, I like dogs. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so what from Joe Blow asked why is your name USSR, but we covered that one already. And final question from Michael: are you gay?
I'm Stephen USSR Robinson. You're watching Spawn Icons.
Are you gay?
Um,
Just on a weekend, though.
yeah, I don't push back, so no.